Welcome to Requirements Engineering in the winter semester 24-25. You might have noticed, for those who know our recording location, that this is not our usual room. There was a little bit of an unusual double booking situation, but I guess that's not really a big problem. So whenever I'm looking in that direction, I'm looking at the live audience that we on purpose do not record. But otherwise, we just continue as planned. And I'm just sitting here in this awkward position so that you can see me, I can see the audience, and I can see the slide. But that shouldn't really change much for you. So once again, welcome. I have prepared with my team a little bit of an introductory slide set for you, just to give you an idea who's going to be with you on the requirement engineering course this semester. So on one hand, myself, Benjamin, I'm heading the Emerging Technologies for the Circular Economy Research Group. We are doing research at the intersection of computer science and sustainability, but we'll cover that in detail at the next slide. With me is also Anand, today online, who will be partially managing the course and also cover some of the lectures. That's him. And then we also have Elsie Prima with me here in your main contact person for exercises and for other questions. So that's the whole team, myself, Anand, and Elsie Prima. Now, slightly more details on what we do before we dive into the details for the course. So as I already mentioned, we have this field of IT and sustainability and where it intersects as our main research focus. And as the computer scientist at the Circular Economy and Sustainability University, we try to find solutions for circular economy challenges that we can somehow either tackle completely or where we can support with our computer science tool set and tools to essentially get towards implementing a circular economy and not just talking about it. We also have a research direction where we think about self-organized systems, decentralized systems, and distributed systems, not necessarily all in one system, but could also be just like parts of those properties. And then one of our bigger research directions is sustainable and resilient food production. So essentially, on one hand, of course, producing food in a very sustainable way, and then also in a way that we can live in a world where climate change is moving forward in a drastic manner, which then has various side effects like too much water, too little water, too much heat, too cold, or a highly polluted environment, or resources missing to fertilize the ground, or like bad soil quality, and so on and so on. So long story short, how can we still make sure that we have enough food despite having a very fucked up environment? So how can we still adapt to those challenges? This is like one of the bigger parts that we do, but we also do research in other directions like recycling using AI and other components of the circular economy, as well as ideas evolving around circular societies. But you can find more information about that on our website, linked on the next slide. So that just giving you some ideas. What we also do is providing other courses besides requirements engineering. Every summer semester, we offer the course Emerging Technologies for the Circular Economy for master students, where we'll look at various technologies and how they can foster the circular economy, mostly from the computer science perspective. And our other course, The Limits to Growth, Sustainability, and the Circular Economy, is really open to everyone, not just master students, but also bachelor students, PhD students. Doesn't have to be a computer scientist, can be a philosopher, can be someone who's having a major in English literature. I don't really care. I don't even care if you study at all. This course is really for everyone and is supposed to teach you, as someone who wants to graduate from TU Clausthal, a university that's focusing on sustainability and circular economy, to actually talk about those topics. Like, what is the actual definition of sustainability, or at least one definition of sustainability? What is the circular economy? What's good about a circular economy? What's bad about a circular economy? Where are the shortcomings? How can we address them? But also looking beyond concepts like this. So what are circular societies, and so on and so on. So on one hand, making you able to properly talk about topics like sustainability or climate change, what's the difference between climate change and weather and so on, but then also more advanced concepts on how we can try to make it happen that these rapid changing worlds that is highly polluted and where climate change is moving fast forward, like how can we still make sure that this is a livable planet and that we have a future? So please join that course if you are interested in those topics, and otherwise next semester maybe the emerging technology course. And now, as I already promised you, our website, you can just click on it, then you find course materials, you can see our research project, our publications. There's also a sub menu for thesis and project topics, and so on and so on. And if you are really interested in our group, we can also provide you links to 2 YouTube videos, unfortunately both in German, but you can still watch them if you're interested. They give you a little bit of idea what else we're up to. They're slightly outdated now, they're 4 years old, but it's still something to help you procrastinate and maybe entertains you. And after this short introduction of what we're actually doing, towards what we're doing in this course. So the course is called Requirements Engineering, and we will really go through, once again, the basics, similar to our sustainability course, of the core terminology. What is a requirement? What are other relevant terms that you first need to understand and to properly define before we then move on to the actual methods of figuring out requirements. All of those terms now either sound complicated or vague or a little bit, how do you say this in a friendly way, like empty phrases. But in essence, requirements engineering is not really difficult because most of us do it very intuitively. When you're looking for a new flat because you started studying and you need to find a flat wherever you study, or you need a new car, you intuitively start to engineer requirements. You set your constraints, like how much money am I willing to put up for a new apartment or a new car? If I'm looking for an apartment, where should it be located? What size do I need? Do I need internet? Does it have to be refurbished? Like there's with furniture, sorry, that's what I wanted to say. So you intuitively elicit those requirements that you have when you're looking for a new flat. You do the same with a car. Should it be a big car? Should it be a small car? Do you have a color preference? How much are you willing to pay? Should it be a battery electric vehicle? Should it be a combustion engine vehicle? You do this all the time. You can do the same for smartphones, notebooks, or whatever. So don't overcomplicate requirements engineering. Don't be intimidated. Don't be like scared of having a super boring course, because all of this is quite intuitive if you think about it. So also try to use your intuition when you encounter a problem here in this course. And when we give you homework, you're like, okay, don't know what to do. Try to think about intuitively. You always go back to this apartment or new car thing. So long story short, we'll first do the core terminology. Then we will have a look at the abstract requirements engineering process, and then we'll go through it step by step. So we'll talk about so-called elicitation techniques. How do I elicit or extract requirements from stakeholders? Could be a customer, could be other people. Then once we have those requirements, how do I properly document so that other people can use them? Other people could be software developers or people that have to later build on top of your system, just people checking if the requirements are good. Then there are different ways of documenting requirements. You can write them down in a text form. You can draw. You can use formal specification methods and so on and so on. So we'll look into different ways of doing those. Then you will often also encounter the need for requirements negotiation, because the people who approach you to, let's say, develop a software system often have a very long list of features that they want to have, but a very minimal budget. And the first and most predominant thing that you will negotiate with them is a long wish list versus a limited budget. So if you pay me $20, pick 2 features that you want and not 200 features. And that's one way of negotiations, and there could also be different requirements with respect to how long does a boot process need to be, or when you think about legal requirements that you want to do something because it's super simple, but it's against the law, so you have to find a way around it. So think about the health sector, where you have a very strong regulations and restrictions with respect to how to handle patient data. So there you also have then to negotiate between simple use, but also being GDPR compliant or patient health compliance or whatever. At some point, you will also stumble into requirements management, especially in large projects where we're talking about hundreds of thousands of requirements, where you're not just 3 people in a room and a single customer, but something like automotive entertainment system or big website for a computer company or whatever. And then also requirements traceability. Where does a requirement come from? Why is it even here? How did we negotiate the end result of this requirement, and so on and so on. And then we'll also look into validations and quality assurance of requirements. What should you have learned at the end of this course? Similar to our sustainability course, at the end of this course, you should have or should be able to have a proper discussion about the requirements engineering process. You should know what a requirement is. You should be able to talk about functional requirements. You should be able to validate requirements. So you should understand all the different terminologies, and you should understand the whole process. That doesn't mean that you need to learn all the different methods that we show you here by heart, because we show you some of the methods. If you open up any book on requirements engineering, you will get something like a rough guide. But depending on your project, your own preference, your stakeholders, you will have to make a decision, okay, what explicit methodologies am I using to elicit requirements, to document them, and so on and so on. So this is more like teaching you the landscape and how to follow the process, and then you still have to pick different methods depending on your own needs in reality. So we don't claim that this is complete or perfect, but this works. But you don't have to use all the methods that we now present to you. And yeah, by the end of this course, you should be able to elicit requirements from customers, to properly document them, to negotiate them, everything that I essentially showed you on the last slide. Disclaimer, we are not the first people to think about requirements engineering, since eliciting requirements to look for a new apartment or a new house or whatever is as old as mankind. There have other more smarter people than us thought about this. Most of this course is modeled based on the book Requirements Engineering by Clausthal. We do not force you to buy it. You can do the course completely without it. But on the other hand, if the way I'm explaining something to you, or Anand in some videos, is maybe not intuitive, or you need someone explain it to you in different words, or you would like to go deeper into this, because I think the book is something like 600, 700 pages, so way longer than what I will present you here, I can highly recommend that book. I think we also have a literature list at the end of this slide where there are further books. If not, they are also on StudIP. So those are essentially just extra literature to make your life easier, especially when you get yourself into a position to become a requirements engineer. And then, of course, special thanks to Steffen and Christian, because they provided us with an initial slide set for this lecture, which we then took, reorganized, improved, built some parts completely from scratch. Others we thankfully use from them, because they're also very good requirements engineers. And now to the course content. You will see this slide again and again and again and again, because this is essentially the requirements engineering process that we will work through as part of this lecture series. So this whole thing is a requirements engineering process. We subdivide it into analyzing requirements, and then later, once we have requirements, how do we manage them? And we'll start first with the elicitation. No, not quite true. First, we'll do terminology, so that we know what we're talking about. And then we'll do elicitation. Once we have elicited stuff, we will negotiate the elicited requirements, then we'll document them, even though those 3 steps are like partially interlinked. Once you have elicited something, you already need to document it before you can negotiate it. So there's like a little bit of overlap, and we shifted this back and forth. So this is more like a conceptual idea. So elicitation, documentation, negotiation, very closely linked and interlinked. Then we'll also validate the requirements, and then in the later part of this course, we will tackle change management and tracing as part of the requirements management thing. So whenever we start a new chapter, we'll get back to this figure so that you exactly know where are we now. That's our lecture schedule for this semester. Today is the 28th of October, where we'll only tackle the org session. So once we're done with these slides, you're free to run away. And the rest of the course is a so-called massive open online course. In the course announcement on StudIP, you'll find the link to the website. You will also find it here in the slide set, which we uploaded to StudIP, but we can also later put it in the chat. I guess Anand can probably do this while we're talking, where you will find all the course material. That includes lecture videos that we recorded in a more professional setup than this. So we have a green screen downstairs, like I think quite good quality, even though I'm now essentially supporting the stuff that we self-made, so might be a little bit biased towards the quality of the stuff that we produced. But long story short, all of this is a massive open online course that gives you a lot of flexibility, but also responsibility. All the videos, except for this org video that we're recording now, which will be online by the end of the week, are already online. This is the proposed lecture schedule that we would suggest you to follow. Because even though all the lectures are already online and you can watch all of them today, the exercises matching the lectures are not online yet, and they are timed with their deadlines towards the schedule. So we'll see it on the next slide in a second. But essentially, the elicitation exercise is not yet online and cannot be submitted. It will be online after we get to the elicitation part of this course. So you have all the freedom to do the lectures whenever you want, at your own speed. You can do it at 2 a.m. in the morning, or you can do it at the normal lecture times. Up to you. The only fixed appointments is today and the exam Q&A session on the 10th of February, which is, I think, 1 week before the exam, but we'll get to that. Everything else? Is off. We will get there. There was a question about the exam, but we'll get there. So all according to your need. And I think on the next slide, we'll have the exercise schedule. We'll have 8 mandatory exercises. And I can hear some chat stuff going on in the background. We will tackle the questions in the chat after we're done with the recording so that we do not have too much interference with the recording. But we'll answer all questions at the end, and we'll also turn off the recording to answer all questions so that no one has to be afraid of asking anything while being live online and being then later on YouTube. So back to the exercises. So first exercise starts on the 11th. This is where we publish the first exercise. And this is going to be a multiple choice quiz that is also inside that massive open online platform. So you will find it there. You can answer the questions to the best of your knowledge, and then you get an immediate result. Everything that is on this platform is not stored and not evaluated by us. This multiple choice quiz is solely for you to see where you are standing. We don't get the results. We don't know how many mistakes you make. We don't know if you got everything right. We don't know how many times you did the quiz. This is solely for you. This website doesn't store any information. This is just for you. However, for all the subsequent exercises, we have set up a submission system. I think it's via Moodle, but I think we'll also get to that slide a little bit later. 8 exercises, all mandatory. You have to submit them. There is one bonus task, which is not mandatory and can be used to make up for one exercise that you either missed or fucked up. You get that one bonus task. Don't plan with that bonus task. It's not an easy bonus task. This one is meant to be difficult. So don't build on the fact that you have a bonus task. If you fuck up the bonus task as well, you're out. So don't plan with a bonus task. And otherwise, please keep the deadlines because we do not make exceptions. So some of the stuff I already said, like we have this MOOC platform. There is the link, re.etce-lab.de. The content is there. The slides are available via the following GitHub link. So as I said, I put the slides of this session on StudIP so that you have all the links. Everything else is on GitHub. And please check it every now and then, because whenever we encounter problems or issues, we fix the issues right in that GitHub repository, and then you can get the latest version. Exercises and Q&A session will be every week at the time that we announced on StudIP, and I think it will also be on the next slides. It will only be on BBB. And this is one fix that we will do. We will remove the Goslar part because it seems like we can't have that room at all times, and usually no one shows up anyway. So we're going to do the BBB version where every week you can ask questions pertaining to the exercises. You will also get exercise feedback in those sessions. You can ask all kinds of questions that can while watching the videos, just in case we need to reiterate on something or explain it in different words or use different examples. So once a week, you have the opportunity to be there. However, we will leave the room once there are no new questions for 60 seconds. This is a session where we provide you answers, but you have to bring the questions. We're not sitting there just giving you the solutions to the exercises. We'll give you feedback, like this is a common mistake that happened again and again, and it seems like we should explain it in a different way. Or, hey, you all did great, perfect results. But if you don't bring questions, we cannot provide answers. So we have this rule, 60 seconds, no new question, and then the Q&A session is over. So we have this famous 60-second counter that we have in all of our lectures. And if you have any questions, please use that email address listed below. Please write to that email address. Anand, LC and I can access that email address as a shared resource, and we will read all emails and we'll answer all emails. We will not respond to emails sent to Anand's, LC or my private email account, because then a lot of students just send the same message to all of us again, and then 3 of us spend 5 or 10 minutes answering the same stupid email. That is not efficient. And we had also occasions where students then tried to game us. Yes, Anand said this. No, Benjamin said this. And then Anand and I talked and we figured out, nope, neither of us said this. So long story short, there are various reasons why we will only reply to that email address. Please help us. Please, if you don't get a reply from us, then you might have chosen the wrong email address. So please help us. This makes us way more efficient for everyone. Good. Next. Lecture times, you already figured that out. 2:15 for the lecture, 4 p.m. for the Q&A session, and there it's already correctly described, only via a big blue button. It's the same link as the one that we're using right now. So one BBB link for exercise or Q&A and the lecture, so you don't have to switch back and forth. Good. What do the exercises look like from an organizational perspective? First of all, individual work, no group work, because they're not big enough and complex enough to make it a group work. There might be either multiple choice, like the first exercise that I already talked about that is on the MOOC platform, or practical tasks where we ask you to elicit requirements or to document requirements in a certain way or validate or so on and so on and so on. So the exercises are loosely built on this rough requirements engineering process, so that whenever you learn, we try to provide you at least an attempt to practice this. Of course, those exercises are limited with respect to real world experience, but we also have something like 120, 130 students. It's really difficult to do live workshops in such a large scale that everyone can really go through the live experience of eliciting requirements, but we're trying to get there so that you get at least a little bit of experience. Submission is usually due 7 to 14 days after we published the task. That depends a little bit on the exercise. So please check the exercise sheet when it's supposed to be submitted. Submission deadline is always Monday, just right before the lecture. So please do not expect us, when you submit the exercise today, please don't expect us to have the feedback for the exercises for the Q&A session. We're good, but we're not magicians. So we need a little bit of time to then go through all the exercises. And submission of each exercise is mandatory, and you only have the bonus task to make up one fucked up that you might have. Good. I already talked about the multiple choice on the MOOC platform. We don't have to do this. Every or all other exercises submitted via Moodle. So if you go on StudIP, you should be able to see Moodle now, and then for each exercise, we will enable the submission platform so you can drop your files there. The bonus task, once again, if you miss or fail one of the regular practice exercises, submitting and passing the bonus task substitutes the missed failed exercise, and the bonus task will be very difficult, so I think I already covered that. And now, coming to one of the most asked questions, what's the exam going to look like? What do I have to do to be eligible to participate in the exam? So as we said before, you have to submit all exercises. And you not only have to submit every exercise, you also have to pass them with a score of at least 50% or more. Already told you, you have that bonus task. Don't plan to use that bonus task. It's a very risky game. And to the best of our knowledge today, the final exam is going to take place on the 17th of February 2025 from 2 to 4 p.m. We'll probably do a written exam on Moodle, so that means online. And for your calendar, maybe add another hour before that to your blocker, so 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., because similar to a normal exam in a lecture room, we have to check that you're really who you are claimed to be. And that takes a little bit of time to do that online. So we'll start at 1 p.m. with the online verification of each and everyone's identity, then 2 hours exam, and then you're done. This is all to the best of our knowledge today. If this changes, we'll let you know, but we hope that this is a final date. And 7 days before the exam, we'll have the exam Q&A session where you can ask all types of questions related to the exam. And this is, like, as we said before, the second thing where we'll be here live, but also, of course, stream it via online via BBB. We also have a little bit of extra material prepared for you, because as I pointed out earlier, like, requirements engineering is something that exists for a while. There are so many different ways of eliciting, documenting, validating, negotiating, managing requirements that we can, like, not cover everything at once. Like, this would be a whole study program in itself and not just a course. So we try to give you a very general and flexible methodology set that you can use, or a tool set, but there are, like, different things left and right or alternatives how to do this. And we decided to include some of those alternative approaches or extra tools in the slides, but we mark them as a self-study content. So you can look into this. You can also dive deeper into this. If you want to become a requirements engineer, or if you're really passionate about requirements engineering, this is, like, the content for you. It's not going to hurt to know this, but it's also not mandatory to study this for the exam. You might be able to impress us. You might be able to collect some extra points by knowing this stuff, but it's not mandatory. It's essentially just extra content that didn't make it into the actual lecture, but we still wanted to give you access to this. And another way to dive deeper into this topic is our literature list. So right at the top is Klaus Pohl, the Requirements Engineering Fundamentals, Principles, and Techniques. So the book that we used as a rough model for this course. So this one, definitely a recommendation. There are also further books that are worth a read, especially if you want to become a requirements engineer. If you prefer the German language instead of English, there's also Chris Rupp's Buch Requirements Engineering and Management, das Handbuch für Anforderungen in jeder Situation. So there's, like, something either for you in German or in English. But once again, this is neither a complete list, nor does it mean that all the other books are bad quality. This is just a list that we deem to be suitable if you want to dive deeper into this, or if you just need someone to explain something in a different way to you. Maybe the words and the examples that we use in these lectures don't really help you. Then there's a place where you can look it up in different words using different examples, a different style. So it's essentially just additional for you to make sure that you learn everything that's necessary and that you pass the exam. And now we're back to the question session. So now you can start all questions. Before we do this, we will stop the recording so that no one needs to be afraid to ask questions and then be ending up online, because we'll put this video on YouTube later. So whenever we have Q&A sessions and whenever you ask questions, be assured that we won't record those. You can ask all questions you like without ending up on YouTube. So see you in the Q&A session.